So, Lisa is still missing. The place is still in lockdown. I haven't been allowed to leave. They're afraid of her getting out, I guess. Besides the whole not aging thing and her taste in movies, Lisa always struck me as the least harmful of the bunch. So I'm pretty worried considering how much they're freaking out about her possible breach. Even Fred's didn't invoke so much panic out of the higher-ups. Good news is I have some free time now to write all this out. Besides Lisa being missing, I've still been going on about the normal routine. Feeding, removing bones from Bill's cage, cleaning up after Fred's feedings. Speaking of which, the new Fred is a particularly messy eater. Would it be drinker? I mean, considering I'm giving it blood. Cassie seems particularly aggressive since Lisa's disappearance. She's tried more than once to bite me. The one that's been worrying has been Bill, though. See, I was feeding him yesterday, and I saw something moving around inside his chest as he downed his daily rat. Tomorrow is another move, or at least should be. I'm not sure what with the security lockdown. So since I haven't much to write about in current events, I'll take a suggestion to tide you guys over. Now, some of you were curious about the personalities of the people in the cages. Well, because I'm a person of the people, I'll tell you about them. Now, Fred is usually very quiet. However, if he misses a scheduled feeding, remember it's every 7 hours, he gets exceptionally aggressive and talkative, making a lot of threats. My personal favorite has to be the time that he told me that I was late feeding him again. He'd make a smoothie from my tendons. And overall, however, Freds have, when I've interacted with them outside of a hostile state, they've been very polite. They've been very well-spoken. Cassie's, those are less people, more animals. They don't speak much outside of grunts and growls. Personality-wise, they're as deep as a dog bowl. That said, they're also the least hostile of the bunch. Outside of feeding time, probably has something to do with the electrified cage, maybe. See, I've even hand-fed one. Well, wearing a thick leather glove, but still, I gave her some of my burger. Let's not tell TD about that one. So, while they look like, normal, small-ish women, they don't act like it. Now, Marys are religious nuts. That's been said. They're constantly praying or trying to turn someone into their religion. The current Mary is a pagan. She worships some ancient deity named Hastur, always asking something about a sign. I don't know. They're interesting, but not much of the way of conversation. I tune them out most of the time. Now, Bobs are mixed, as is to be expected. Most are very prone to conversation. Typically, it's water cooler talk, what happened at the game, or what happened in Game of Thrones, back when it was still coming on. I actually chat with them during my coffee breaks, and they're pretty nice guys, ignoring the eye thing. But don't let that fool you. They've tried strangling me a few times, and that's why I have the stun gun. Earl is Earl. Not much to say. He always has his nose buried in a newspaper, so he doesn't talk much. Chads don't speak during the whole black substance from every orifice when they speak issue. And before she went missing, Lisa was your typical 6-year-old as far as personality is concerned. She even had an imaginary friend. She called him, Mr. Abba. Her bear, she called Bezel. Interesting names, but, she's a weird kid. Or at least, she's a strange, whatever she is. And I have no opinion on Bill, as he's still rather new. Oh shit, TD's getting all of us together for some kind of meeting. I'll update you later. Okay, so TD gave us the rundown. When and if he finds Lisa, she's going to be given restrictions for the time being. Furthermore, we are to never reference her imaginary friend or her teddy bear directly from here on out. As for the doll, it's still in the cage with Bill last I saw, but no one else noticed or cared about it. Besides me. And the caged. Mary, in particular, holds the doll in reverence, it seems. More weirdness from this place, I suppose. The security are still doing a full sweep to find Lisa, but so far no luck. I haven't mentioned the thing inside Bill to TW yet. Seems that he has a lot on his plate right now. Never come to your boss with a problem, only solutions. Heard that in a movie. TD also gave all the people with clearance, i.e. everyone here presently, the files on each captive. I haven't gone over them yet, but I'm certainly intrigued to figure out why they've locked all these people away. In the middle of the last update, shots were fired. We found Lisa. She was eating a member of security. It was a mess. His limbs were arranged in a heart shape, and she had ripped off his scalp. When they found her, she was dipping his kidneys in ketchup like chicken nuggets. They naturally opened fire. She didn't so much as flinch. The man's intestines were draped around her neck like a scarf, and his scalp was on her head. I nearly vomited when I saw it. I'm a bit fuzzy on the details, but somehow we managed to secure her and place her back into her cell. So that's what she eats, it turns out. The doll was in her cage when she was put back in. I didn't mention it to anyone. But the doll, which, as I told you, has cat paws in place of hands, well, one hand was now a human one, with a tattoo distinctly similar to the poor bastard Lisa was eating. I'm gonna read those files. I'm done not knowing what I'm dealing with. Well, I don't know much more than I did previously. I don't know what they did or why they all fit into certain categories. Most of the file is redacted. Feels like a waste of time in all honesty, but it's a start. The only one that wasn't completely redacted was Cassie, and she's human in appearance only. She's some kind of succubus, siren, something? I'm not sure, but she's quite literally a man-eater. The pound of meat isn't any kind of meat, it's human meat. Still don't know where they get it every 3 days. And why the care instructions are so specific. I'll keep you guys updated. Tomorrow's transfer day. Apologies, by the way, if it somehow got deleted. I didn't do that. So I came to work today and TD was in a panic. Why? Because number 8's skin was found in his cage. Not his body. Just his skin. As for the doll, it's still with Lisa in her cage. I wanted to tell them about it, but one thing at a time, you know? Today's transfer day, and in a few hours, one of the cages will be leaving. Who? I have no idea. But some of you suggested I attempt to talk to the current Mary about her religion. And maybe she knows something we don't. So that's what I'm gonna do. I sat in front of the cage, in an old wooden chair. Mary, as usual, was deep in prayer. She spoke some language I didn't understand, and I cleared my throat and she looked up. "Have you seen the yellow sign?" she asked, smiling ear to ear. She was a native woman, with an accent that seemed a mix of Australian and American, Aborigine, maybe. I shook my head. "No. Why don't you tell me about it?" Only pausing for breaths, Mary went into great detail about her patron entity, otherwise known as the King in Yellow, and in some places, simply the Yellow. Hastur was a patron of shepherds to some, to others an unfathomable darkness. I nodded as if understanding, but truthfully I was more confused than I was previously. Finally I asked, "Why are you here? Why are you in..." They pointed at the cage. "There." "I don't know," she said, her voice faltering for the first time. This Mary was a regular chatterbox, and this was the first time she fell silent. "What about that doll? The one the little girl has?" She eyed the doll warily. Lisa was nose deep in a coloring book, but the doll looked right at her. "I do not know. I thought at first it was a vessel for Hastur, but..." She trailed off. "What that crazy bitch is saying is that doll is something else." Earl spoke up for the first time in what seemed like ages. "Why are you here then?" I asked, turning my attention to the mustached man. He shrugged. "Jaywalking," he replied, going back to his newspaper. Mary spoke again. "The doll, it has a darkness. Seems similar to the king, but not quite," she said. It was as she said this, the doors opened. They wheeled in the new captive, and as they approached Mary's cage, her eyes widened in fear. They shoved me aside roughly and unlocked her cage. They drug Mary out, as she drug her nails into the ground with such force that it left a mark in the floor beneath her. They strapped her in, and as she cursed in the unknown language, they wheeled her away. Her replacement, a nun, came soon after. So much for that lead. Security has been on extra high alert since the old man, we're guessing anyway, shed his skin. I was reprimanded by TD for talking to the pagan Mary about her religion. He didn't punish me or anything, but he let me off with a warning. She said that the doll has a darkness, and, well, I believe her. I also talked to Lisa a bit today, and, asking about Mr. Abba. She said that his full name was Donald Abba III. Never heard of an imaginary friend having a first and last name. I don't know. I have to focus on the job, so I'll update you guys later. So I told TD about Lisa's doll. And what he said worries me. A lot. He said that he didn't see any doll. That's unnerving. So not only is there a possible sentient doll, but now I'm the only one who can see it besides the caged. I've conducted interviews with the rest of the cage since Mary's transfer, besides Cassie and Chad, because, well, they can't really speak. Fred was up first. He said he was there for simply being him. The particular Fred was so overweight, he was tired from standing for too long, so he sat on the floor of his cage. I finally asked, "What did you do? What do you know about that doll?" Gesturing to Lisa's cage.
"About as much as you do, I suppose. Showed up in her cage one day."
Showed up? How did I miss that on the monitors?
"Yes, sir. The woman, the one that was moved today, well, she wouldn't shut up about it for a few hours at least. Then she avoided it like it pissed on her shoe or something."
He snorted. "Where did you come from?"
"Thurman, West Virginia, originally,"
he stated matter-of-factly. Moving on. Earl didn't provide much more info than Fred, but what he did tell me caught my ear. He claimed to be from Nazareth, originally. He also mentioned a woman named Delilah who stabbed him in the back a long time ago. The new Mary was too frightened to be talked to, due to the circumstances of her surroundings, and Lisa, well, I'm not talking to her again. Kind of pointless considering that she's technically 6. That just left Bob. Bob, still claiming to be an investment banker from New York, didn't provide much information on the doll, so I changed the subject. "What's with the coins?"
"Oh, these?"
He pointed to his bloodied sockets.
"They're my lucky coins."
Yeah, whatever you say, Bob. I returned to my office. I poured a cup of coffee. I nearly had a heart attack when I turned around and saw the fucking doll sitting on my desk. It was not there when I came in. Pinned to its chest was a note scribbled in crayon. It simply read, "Look up." I don't know why I followed the instructions. On the ceiling, looking down at me, was me? The person was duct taped to the ceiling, his eyes were gouged out, and carved into his forehead was another message. "Stop." I blinked and the corpse and doll were gone. I ran to the monitors. I saw the doll back in Lisa's cage, looking directly at the camera. I'm starting to think this isn't worth $500 a day. Hey there kids, it's me, Mrcreepypasta, and I just wanted to tell you thank you so much for watching tonight's video. And if you are interested in getting a nice, warm beverage while listening to Mrcreepypasta Storytime, you can always check out my wife's tea shop. It's etsy.com/shop/ivorymonocletea. The Ivory Monocle Tea Shop has different kinds of teas from Dungeons & Dragons to anime to Final Fantasy to creepypastas. You can actually get a creepypasta tea set that features a Mr. Creepypasta tea. It's the tea that I generally have here at my desk as I'm recording. And you can actually request after you order one to get the special dabbing MCP sticker, which is the one that I use. And a very special thank you to everybody on that Patreon, patreon.com/MrCreepypasta, especially Ariel Torres, Jordan Alexander Sanchez, Ken Lando Higuchi, Brianna Van Tine-Janzen, Chompski, TheRedOakShieldVirus, Sindee Barney, Asia, G. Weevil 3, Diana Kraus, Stephen VanHuss, Tristain Pelton, Nico kaeo, TheGingerBroz, Dante Rowe, Raphael Rodriguez, Don Meulmeester, Eliminator 86, SteampunkSinner, Kaleb Dougal, Sky Harbor, The Homeless Bird 93, Gabrielle Undefined, Bobby Carmen, Liam Newman, Aaron Stormcrow, Bobby Jean Torgan, Dr. Strawberry, The Wormhole, Barbara Macedo, and Vic. Thank you guys so much, and if anyone would like to join them on that list, head over to patreon.com/Mrcreepypasta. Here's hoping that you guys are loving the horror as much as I am. And sweet dreams.